Need that. What's up?
You don't need that. You can share.
Yeah, that's true. Recording myself.
Friends have been to talk to you since the end of spring. When you all met as a staff about the offense, what was the overall evaluation? What did you think you guys accomplished in those 15 days?
I think we did a good job competing. I think we did a great job of trying to play the game as much as possible, unscripted, more of a live period, not tackle, but really put guys in position to grow and learn and to experience maybe what it's like on a Saturday, even though it's minimal of what it really is. But I think we did a pretty good job of putting guys in position to make plays and also new guys to put their best foot forward. That whole combination I thought was well done.
Do you use the spring, you've been through this as a player, do you want to have a depth chart that's in your mind by the end of spring, or do you all approach this as like, there's nothing that's going to be settled until August?
No, I would say coming through spring, you want to get an idea of some people you want to be able to start relying on. You want to identify points where maybe things need to improve. You want to, again, start outlining guys you're going to count on in the fall, and then continue to develop them through summer. Identify individually and offensively things that we need to improve on, but also things that we do well. At the end of the day, coming out of spring, you want to start having an identity, and then putting those guys in position to create that identity is really important.
How are you feeling?
Good.
Injury and good?
Feel good. We'll play a game right now.
Is there anything that you can say about what happened that night?
No, there's nothing I can really say. I mean, all I would say is that in hindsight, I probably would have rather went to bed instead of rode in a side-by-side, but that's about all I'd say.
Yeah. Do you feel like you dodged one maybe a little bit there? Could have been a lot worse?
It's always could be worse, but again, there's nothing else to talk about.
Having Joe Philbin join, how beneficial can it be? Do you have a history with it?
Yeah. Having Joe's been great. I think the perspective he gives, the wealth of knowledge that he has as a position coach, head coach, football coach. I mean, I think everyone in the building can learn something from him, and he really, it's really awesome. I mean, to say it's not, a little, pretty cool in my perspective, to be around Coach Philbin again in a different light, in a different way, would be an understatement. So very happy he's here. He's a great addition to our staff.
How much do you think you'll lean on him? Because you're a full-time coordinator, obviously, and he's done it at the highest level.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're surrounded by guys in the building that have done it at the highest level and have done it really well. Now, I'm going to lean on everyone in the room, Coach Day and Coach Fry and Coach Dennis and Coach Bailey and so on and so forth, Coach Alford. But I mean, he's definitely a great addition, and he'll bring something to the room that will help us.
Brent, how are those meetings? I know we ask you all the time. Is it free to speak? I mean, how would you describe
our offensive meetings?
Yeah, I mean, how would you describe when y'all are getting together and brainstorming or whatever? Everybody free to speak their mind? I mean, how does that work in your brain?
Yeah, you encourage dialogue. You encourage ideas. Sometimes the idea that comes out is not the right idea, but it then sparks another conversation, and eventually you find yourself down a road where it's a good conversation. I would hate to ever have a room where people are nervous and scared to speak. Now you want to make sure you know what you're talking about or those kind of things, but and that encourages that. But I think the more dialogue you can have with the kind of caliber of coaches we have in our room, it's always a good thing.
And so, we're like a Coach Philbin. Are you personally looking for insights from what he's observed? Maybe in practice. I mean, how does that work? What's the interaction? You understand what I'm saying? Or where he's been.
Sure. I mean, I would say, he's not just blurting out all the time. He's waiting to maybe be called upon or pulled aside or whatever. But I'm sure if there's a thing that he believes strongly in. He'd be willing to voice his opinion. Again, all opinions are welcomed. I would just say that he's not in there trying to overtake the room. He is very respectful of everyone that's in there, and as much as we're learning from him, I know he's trying to learn from us. So that's a pretty normal situation.
Yeah, Brian, with the crash, did you bring that up with the team, with your group, the receivers? Did you feel like that was something you needed to address?
No, but anything addressed or anything that we do will be kept in house.
Did that episode change you? When people have experiences that change them. I'm not. You know what I'm asking there. Kind of a different guy since then.
Everything provides a learning opportunity, and I would say it was a learning opportunity.
You're a type A guy, right? You like to push things, and that's your personality. You like to go 100 miles an hour. Is that one of those things like, okay?
I'm not going to talk about the situation anymore.
So, remember when I asked you when you were a player, and I said, were you one of those guys who's 5 years old and on the high board?
Yeah, that's probably about
And you
right.
said yes.
It's probably right.
Yeah.
5 years old, trying to jump off the high dive.
But I'm not talking about specifics of that situation, but as you go through life, you feel yourself mellowing a little bit. I mean, you feel yourself personally mellowing a little bit.
It's yeah, you have to. Your body doesn't operate the same way as it used to when you were younger.
Yeah. But I guess what I'm getting here, when you come that close to like maybe something serious happening to you, which an injury is still serious, but does it make you step back and,
I'm healthy.
yeah. But you want to stay healthy, right?
Yeah, that's the goal. That's the goal.
Lorenzo was a guy, obviously, you guys
Oh yeah.
now he's back here. What makes up about him when he's able to switch to the defensive side? Obviously, he's good on offense.
He's a great athlete. Always was in high school. I thought he was a heck of a player. I don't want to speak for him, but I felt like coming out of high school, he was a good athlete. I felt like I may have told him I thought his best position was corner. So I know it's always tough finding the path and believing on what you want to do, and then maybe switching. And I can only guess how hard that would be. But I'm really excited he's back as an individual, as a person. He's awesome. So to add more and more people like that to our locker room is only a bonus for us.
What does he think having spent 2 years there? What can he bring to that side of the room that might be
I don't know. I mean, that's probably a good question for him. But you'd like to think that he probably maybe some tricks of the trade from a receiver standpoint, and then the things he was trying not to give away, maybe as a DB he's trying to pick up on, and then that allows him to, cut the corners in his new job description.
That's on the upside of the transfer portal, isn't it? A guy who maybe second guesses what the first decision he made, like Taiwan Malone, we're after him pretty hard, and now he's back to Ohio State.
Yep.
Is that an upside, I guess, to the transfer portal that you can fix something that maybe you?
I think that anytime you're able to provide more power to the player, it's a good thing. It's their responsibility to use the power the right way and in the right light. But I think anytime the players are with the power, it's better off for the sport.
Speaking of the transfer portal, sorry, obviously you guys had a couple guys leave over the course of the spring. And when you're stacking up talent, that's almost, I guess, in this day and age, that's an inevitable conclusion maybe there. Did you expect that to happen that quickly? Did you start losing guys from that second year class?
No, I guess I didn't really have any expectations. I was just, hopeful to continue to build and shape the room as best we can. I completely understand all the pressures that everyone has. And frankly, what they feel is right is up to them. But it is just tough, man. I mean, I think at the end of the day, they're just trying. They feel like they have a 4 to 5 year window, and they're just trying to give themselves the best chance.
Is the room being as highly competitive as it is? Are you seeing that show up on the field and the results that you're getting out of every group that comes through?
As far as what?
Is it pushing their talent up? Is it
Oh yeah, I mean, typically the more talent you have, the more you're demanding of the player, and then the more you can demand the player, the more of the growth you're probably going to get for each individual. So the goal is to continue to add the best players in the country to the room, to allow to push those that are currently there and those that are coming. So that's always the goal. That's what we're going to try to do.
Brian, you went through 15 practices in spring. Now you had time to reflect and look at film and all that. How comfortable do you feel right now?
I feel pretty comfortable. I'm not to the point where I'm going to relax. I mean, I think that, I see that back. I don't know if you're ever comfortable. I think that I'm very honored to be in the role I'm in, and I'm not taking it lightly. But I would never say I guess I'm comfortable. I like the path we're on. I like the work that's being put in, and I'm excited to watch these guys work and apply through summer. I would say that.
And where does it stand in terms of play calling? I don't know if anything's been decided. Or are you still very early in that process?
Coach Day would handle any of those kind of questions, not me.
To go back to Philbin,
Yeah.
Last few years you guys have had Kevin and Wilson in that room, and he had, I think, a certain role, right, in terms of, especially when it came to the run game. Do you see Joe kind of inheriting some of that, like kind of that elder statesman as it relates to?
I don't know. We'll see how it all shakes out. I'm sure Coach Fry, will use every asset he has around him, and obviously Joe would be a good asset. Exactly how everything lies right now. I mean, I know we leave. Coach Fry's got a good handle of that run game, and we'll let it grow from there. But I'd rely a lot and very heavily on Coach Fry.
Coming out of spring, you may have already been asked this for a walkover, but I've been here almost since the start. Your number one quarterback is?
What?
You're coming out spring, headed into summer. Your number one quarterback is?
What do you mean?
Who's your number one quarterback?
We're competing. What do you mean?
Okay. No, I'm just trying to
We're competing.
I'm trying to ask you a straight up question.
Just ask who's the starting quarterback.
I said, who's your starting quarterback?
Ask things in a weird way sometimes.
I actually said number one, not starting.
Yeah.
What did you see out of both of those guys that buoys you headed into the summer and then preseason camp that tells you?
I would just say the way they work. Not just the allotted time that we are given. They work outside those lines as far as on their own and with the guys. Both guys spend a lot of time that way. The way they compete, the way they still, give each other pointers, the way they do everything, frankly, is very encouraging. And the competition's only going to drive both of them. So all of those reasons are why I'm very confident in the end process.
I know I was talking with Devin has a quarterback, coach guy, that gives him pointers and stuff other than in this building, from his past. What is your stance on that kind of stuff? I mean, do you like that? I mean,
And if that's what they want, I have no take on that.
Yeah. So, I know some coaches in the past that we'd rather most of your stuff be coming from us.
Why?
I'm just saying what they said.
I know.
I have no idea.
I'm just saying that I think that the athlete always knows, who the coach is, and for an athlete to only want to learn from one individual, I think that's kind of short-sighted. I think the amount that you can learn from anybody that you encounter or come across, excellent. Now, you may not enjoy working with them, so you don't, but if you enjoy working with them, you can learn something from them. You should try to learn as much as you can from as many people as possible.
You've got a lot of special receivers here, obviously. There's a lot of Wilson guys that any other program would say probably the best it's ever gone. You got a guy now that would have been a top, whatever, draft pick in this year's draft, Marvin. How much of a unique is he in terms of special, unique talent?
Well, I mean, I think that his unique talent is yes, I think Marvin is an elite player. I think Emeka's an elite player. I think Julian's an elite player. I think we can keep going on this list over and over and over again. But I think that what makes these guys so elite is the way they prepare, the way they work, the way they do the extra things outside the allotted time, the way they study film, the way they live. I mean, I think that everything they do plays a part in what you see on Saturday. I feel like those questions are, thinking it's just all God given, and like he didn't work for everything he got. Like he has literally worked for everything that he has, and that's the level at which you see for him, for Emeka, for Julian. All these guys are going down that path. It has not been given to them; they have earned it.
Yeah, and I mean, with Marvin, obviously, we don't always talk, but we see him on
You
the
say
field.
special talent, though. Talent is given. His skill development is off the charts because of the amount of work that he's put in.
That may be that's not what I was getting at. If that hits you, the fact that he has the talent, but he does that in addition to it, above and beyond.
Yeah, he does a pretty good job with it. I mean, I think you have guys out there right now in the field catching jugs, and you didn't name any of those guys just now. So I think it's a combination of that. I think it's, the ability for one guy to maximize himself. Because as much as you want to work really hard, if you don't have that ceiling, you can't reach that ceiling. So that is a blessing, But yeah, I mean, I think we have a lot of great players in that receiver room, and Marvin's being one of them.
Remember long ago when you were a player, when you were just running routes in this winter or summer and things like that, catching balls from whoever your quarterback was, just trying to stay. Were you always playing scenarios in your head? You weren't just going out there running an action.
Correct.
Explain what that.
Yeah.
Good mind tricks you could play.
Well, I just think every time you're doing a rep, you're putting yourself in a potential live rep. I think that you're always mimicking an actual game movement. You're always replicating a scenario or whatever. Like whether you're, keeping your toes in on the driveway and falling in the grass to catch the ball, or whether you're, on a sideline catching the ball. Who's it against and what's the technique. There's always that ghost that you're going against, and I think the guys are playing the game constantly when on their field. And I think that's really critical. I think just going out there and going through the emotions is one thing, but going with the emotions with intent is a whole nother.
You see it manifest itself with Marvin, for example, in games where it looks almost like he's been in that situation before, the way he either made a move or made a catch.
I think all of them try to replicate that scenario and try to put themselves in the situation to replicate it on Saturday.
It's a guy who clearly made an impression with his strength. You've seen that continue since then. What do you think his role, even as a freshman, could be on this team?
I think Carnell had a great spring. I think that I look forward to his growth through the summer. And, I want to see what he's able to continue to do, the consistency he's able to play with through summer and through the fall. I mean, fall is a big part. And I think his ability to challenge and make plays and carve out a role for himself in the fall will be an awesome challenge.
The other freshmen coming later this week, is that right?
They're all here.
They're all here. Okay.
Everybody has to improve, I know. But the number one concern on your board headed into summer and then preseason camp with the offensive side of this football team is what? I mean, I would think it'd be the offensive line, especially a couple of spots.
Well,
I mean, I know everybody's got to get better. I'm just wondering, in your mind, where the guys got to step up?
Yeah, I don't think we have, our starting offense outlined yet or defined.
Yeah.
I think the starters on offense, there's a lot of areas of competition currently and still happening. And I think working through spring and into fall, identifying those guys and the guys we can rely on will be critical.
Emeka and Julian both cleared for full activities right now.
I believe so. Yes.
I'm sure you've already been asked this, but the addition of Joe Philbin, what does that bring to the staff of the guy?
Yeah. I think the addition of Joe has been phenomenal. I think, both from, former head coach, offensive coordinator, O-line play, the wealth of knowledge when it comes to football. I mean, there's so many litany of things that he brings to the building. How approachable he is, how coachable, 2 coaches he's willing to be. I mean, there has been so many positives having Joe on this out of the staff. I can't wait to see him, grow and fester and just, but he's been a great addition. No, we had contact, but then I kind of gave him the idea and he was definitely receptive to it, and we weren't sure if it was going to work out, but between himself and Ohio State and everything, it worked out, and I'm glad it did.
In general, this is a recent thing in college football to have the analysts that are this big a part of it. How have you seen past guys, how they influenced or enhanced the offense? What you guys have tried?
I mean, I think anytime you can add that kind of expertise to the room in any kind of role, it's a benefit. So as much as we're allowed to, we're going to try to.
Virginia Valley, he will say it's time. It's pretty much this time for him to go. Have you seen that since emergency from him? To really, kind of
Oh yeah, his desire and urgency has never changed. But just because you want it doesn't mean it's happened yet. So he's going to keep chasing it. He knows the litany of things that we need to hit. But I'm very encouraged, and I think Jane's on a great path.
You were on the Hard Knocks when Philbin was a coach. Did you watch any of that?
Probably a little at the time, but I don't recall much of it at this point. But I'm sure naturally.
But he came across as such a sort of genuine, real guy in that show. Is that him?
Yeah, Joe's good. Joe's a great dude. Loves ball. Very approachable, and yeah.
Brandon Ennis has been around here already for weeks, right? Going
Yeah, about close to a month, I think.
Is he getting to, how much did that help him, do you think? Does he get to see?
Yeah, I think it's helped him a lot. I think really kind of getting doctrined into how we do things and what we do. I think his body's already starting to change a little bit. I think he's mentioned to me he already feels a little stronger, and so anytime you can get on campus and get rolling with how it's going to go, it's going to help you. That first month can be a lot of things happening. To do it a month earlier than you would have happened, quote unquote, is a huge bonus.
You're talking about who? Simmons? Who are you talking about?
Brandon Ennis.
Oh,
Brandon.
I didn't hear the question. You personally, you wake up every morning. You even have to have an alarm clock, especially since you've been named coordinator.
Do I need an alarm clock? Absolutely.
Some people just wake up.
I have 3 kids.
Some people don't even go to sleep.
I do not wish myself to ever be that person.
Yeah. But I mean, what is just sort of like changed about the routine or about the feeling of responsibility that maybe you didn't have this time a year ago?
I would say
Not just coaching
the
guys.
stress level is much higher. I would say the brain does not stop. It used to stop a little easier. Now it does not stop. I still have a great passion for this school and this university, and so more responsibility just makes more worry. It's just the reality of it. And if I didn't care so much about it all and the people it involves and Buckeye Nation, I probably wouldn't worry as much. But the reality of it is I do highly care on a very, very high level. So, it just plays a bigger part.
The best thing that's flashed through your mind at a stoplight, you were daydreaming. What's the best thing? I mean, since you became coordinator, one of those brilliant
No, that's a weird question.
light bulb idea.
That's a weird question. No,
Or while you're driving. You know what I mean?
no, I don't know what you're asking.
I know you're constantly
Yeah, it's all right.
trying to figure
I'm thinking
this
about
which-
players.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about players, not plays.
Yeah. And so
What do you mean?
coming out of the spring, who's a player that just like, man, he really caught my eye. This guy really made it through. We got to figure out a way to get him involved. Other than
We have plenty of guys we need to try to get involved. Plenty of guys that earn it, plenty of guys that have shown it. So it's just about, trying to get all that done.
yeah, but not one guy. I'm not saying he's going to be the starter. One guy that you're just proud of. What you say.
I'm proud of all the freshman receivers that came in, and they've done a good job for the demand at which they get put on them. Now, it's for any young player, but I just deal with the receivers, from a day-to-day basis. But those young old linemen, they did a good job, man. I mean, there was not glaring issues. They did a good job in protection. They took coaching at a high level. So just the young class in general was very encouraging.
And one last thing, like you just talked about the receiver, the guys that come in here now, this receiver group, what you have built is incredibly impressive. And can you sense the pressure that they feel coming into a group that's already like?
Hey, Dave. I'll shoot it after the first minute.
Did you ever talk in the spring about how some of that spring is going to be spent experimenting with Sonny and what you wanted to do with him? What you learned from all of that science?
You know, I learned that Sonny can handle a lot. He's more adept at playing in a high safety position than you would think for a bigger guy. Most of the time last year we had him at the line of scrimmage or close to the line of scrimmage. So, we've come up with a dual plan for him where he'll be able to compete at a high safety position because I think we're going to need him there. But he'll have a package where certainly he's down close to the line of scrimmage and able to blitz and do some things in the run game and pass game for us. So,
At what point did you come to that realization that he can handle this?
I think it takes all of spring, to really put him in those positions where he's going to be challenged cover-wise, and in some matchups. And, he did well. So I think he's a real versatile player, and he showed me a lot since he's been here, but, he's ready to play.
So he's going to rep that adjuster and bandit. Is that correct, Coach?
Yeah, I think he will. I think he will because we'll need it. And he's repped at all three. We like him in that nickel position, but of course when he's in there, it's almost like a strong safety. You know what I mean? So you adapt what he does best, to the defense and what I call when he's in there, if he's in at a nickel. But we tried to put him in some challenging positions too, just to see how he would hold up with a lot of the things that a nickel has to do. And he did well. So I think really the sky's the limit with Sonny. And we'll keep working. I'll keep working over the summer to really define, the things that he does best.
How are Tommy and Steele health-wise, obviously?
Yeah, they're both 100% now.
How do you feel like CJ and Gabe, kind of just two second-year guys in that class, performed?
Yeah, they made a lot of progress. Gabe had a good spring game, and I thought really came on at the end. CJ is a guy who, I'm predicting sometime this season we're going to see him really unleash. And the good thing is he's not pressed in the service because of the veterans in front of him, and I think that's helped him to be able to play more relaxed. But at some point this year, we'll be able to see CJ's athletic ability. I mean, I think he's just on the cusp of breaking out.
I asked Coach Mick which young guys were standing out earlier, and CJ was one he mentioned as someone whose maturity has really improved from last year to this one. How have you seen that grow?
Well, you see it in everything. I mean, you just see it in how he learns, how he's able to articulate the defense and his assignment, how he does across the board in the classroom and just being on time, being not just being present at the workouts, but being a leader. So he's had a really good off season.
Jim, when you say that there will be a moment when CJ might be unleashed, how will that logistically happen when he has an older guy ahead of him? Does that mean you're going to find opportunities in games where you're going to put CJ in? Would that be in the second half?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think that is up to me. It's a great question because it's up to me to find some time, some things that he can do, in the jack type of game, and also in those situations where we have the opportunity for him to play. Whether that's through a rotation, me just saying, hey, I'm going to get him in every so often because to move along a guy's progression, he's got to get placed. So it's either me defining a role for him within the game plan, creating a substitution where I know I'm going to put him in no matter what or what the score is, or those situations like you said where it's a second half situation and he can really play a lot.
What's that process like for any coach? And this seems like a great example of it. Like you said, CJ's not pressed into service. You don't have to play him because you have veterans ahead of him. But yet maybe you want to see something. How difficult is it to strike that balance? What kind of process do you go through?
Yeah, I mean, it's really from now, right? I'm back off the road from now until the season starts. Constantly tinkering and looking at things and how much could he handle that's outside of a normal will linebacker position, and then it's in my thought process thinking about a season long, and then forcing myself to actually write down on paper, okay, in the first half of the season, I want to make sure he gets X amount of points, because that'll move him.
When a guy gets that opportunity and he pops, what's the next step for a coach? Meaning, if it becomes obvious this guy is a playmaker, you know what I mean? What is that next step?
More plays, more plays. I think that always it reflects. We have to have confidence in our game based on practice, right? Because we don't have many games. It's not like another sport where you can have exhibition games. So you have to have confidence based on practice. So if a guy shows you things in practice, then you give him an opportunity in the game. And if he shows you things in the game, you give him more opportunities.
Yeah,
That's it. It's that easy.
Yeah, and more plays has a trickle-down effect because somebody else is getting fewer.
Somebody else getting fewer. Yeah. But it's like I was saying earlier, that's not a bad thing, even with our veterans, because we want to play a long season. And you saw what happened to Tommy No Thumbs, you know what I mean? It's like as you get down the end, I mean, so the more that CJ can play, the more it helps us over the long haul of the season.
You mentioned CJ at the jack. I know you want Mitch there as well. Do you feel ready now going into the summer to reintroduce the jacks? I know you kind of held that off in the spring.
Yeah, I do. And maybe not even with the whole defense, but I'll be spending time with those two guys in particular, just one-on-one time, talking about the things that what I want to accomplish.
CJ and Mitchell, right?
Yeah.
How much can we be done with that before you get back to actual practice? How much of that is in the film room?
A lot, tons, right? Because that's a position when fully developed where that guy knows everything about the defense and everything about the call. So a lot of that is one-on-one time with me and that player or those two players, so that when it wants to go on the defense, even if there are other guys that aren't quite 100% comfortable, that guy has a full command of it, and he's kind of running around making the calls.
What were those mental gymnastics like for you last year where Mitchell Melton, a lot of people thought might be that guy, and then, you tried to get it out of check. But my point is, you're with a new team, new players, playing against other new teams.
Yeah.
And, people are creatures of habit, even coaches. I mean, you're trying to meld your system, right,
to fit it. What was
That's
that like for you?
Yeah, it's you know, it's just a lot of work, a lot of study, you know, and you're right. Sometimes you can't, when you're in the middle of the forest, you don't see the forest through the trees, you know. So
Yeah.
you go back to things, you know, because by the time I left Oklahoma State, that package was because I went back and looked at it, you know, and after the season, go back and look, okay, what was good, and that's practically all we did. That's practically all we did.
Yeah.
But they were different players, different guys, you know, and as we used some of it here, it just wasn't as popping. You know, it wasn't popping.
Right.
I'm saying it wasn't ineffective, but it wasn't popping. It wasn't jumping off like when you watched the things at Oklahoma State. You went, "Wow, that was great." So, you know, gradually just pulled back on it because doesn't matter what I know. It matters what works and what the players know.
Yeah.
So you just pull back.
When you think statistically, at least, at Oklahoma State, your defense has got better every year. Why is that? Is that you implementing more? Is it the players absorbing more? I'm sure it's some combination of the two, but how would you explain, and did you really feel that beyond the stats? Every year the defense is getting better and better and better.
Yeah, I felt it. You know, I think it is less about me implementing more, although it's always there, right? And it's just a little bit of an injection here or there as they can handle it to get it up, but it's more about how the players understand, you know, so that you want everyone on the defense to know what everyone else does. You want everyone to know where the ball is going to end up. When I make a call based on the play the offense runs, the ball is going to go here. I mean, that's as simple as it gets. You know, it looks more complicated, but if you know, because every defense has I don't want a hole or an escape hatch or some part of it in it. So that's how they get better. And I believe, you know, I think with like a guy like Tommy, take Tommy for example, you saw that accelerate, right? Because he was a guy who really picked it up. You know, I use the word Gretzky all the time. Right? You probably heard me say it, but I keep saying it because it's, hey, Wayne Gretzky, why are you such a great goal scorer? It's because I didn't go where the puck was. I went where it was going to be. So Tommy figured it out a little more quickly, maybe some other guys. That if I made this call and they ran this play, the ball was going to end up over here. So that's how you play fast. So when you get 11 guys who can do that, that's how you get better.
I know you could never blame players. I mean, I know coaches don't do that. But the last two games, the big plays are really what stung, and almost every one of them you could see either just a physical guy slips or something, or a bad decision or something.
Yeah.
And Katie barred the door, right? I mean,
Right.
Has that haunted you the last several months, or is it, you know, how do you fix that? I mean, obviously it's coaching, you know, coach a guy to be in position and also to make the play. I mean, explain what that thought is.
Yeah, I mean, it's yes, it's haunted me, and but you know, just haunting me, that doesn't do anybody any good, except it just keeps it. So if it's a problem, you got to fix it. You got to take responsibility, take accountability. Then you have to say, okay, why did this happen? Like you said, it was a matchup or somebody just not doing something right. Well, that all comes back to me, and I have to. So yeah, you kind of go back to the start. You look at everything. You look at your teaching progression, and then you have to learn. Then you say, okay, we're in matchup games. You know, those were 2 matchup games. We did not. I did not get the job done. So then you have to say, okay, how do I do a better job of, you know, from the start, planning out the defensive progression for those matchup games. You know what I mean? So you got to go back to the beginning. Anytime you try to do something that's a stopgap or something that's just for that week, to me, you're doomed for failure. You know, it's got to become part of your progression. It's got to be in your mind from the start is, okay, the things that didn't go well last year, how do I, from day one, start to make sure that doesn't happen?
And what I believe here, Georgia had this vaunted defense last year. They had a tough night too. You understand what I'm saying? It's a 1 point game, and I think you saw.
Yeah, and we went back to we had a great. What was it, third quarter, right?
Yeah.
Shut them out. Yeah. Because I went back to some things that I know works.
Yeah.
And then.
But if you
I didn't get out of those things quick, and you know
Yeah.
what I mean. Then it
Yeah.
stayed in that too long. So
Yeah.
it's a chess match, but
if you know if a guy's going to fall down, you don't call that deep. You know what I mean?
that was I need to do a better job.
But I want to follow up on it. Nick Saban said, recently that the day of just shut down defense. I mean, you may have seen that where the day of shut down defenses, you're thinking you're going to have defense. This is a defensive guy, or long gone. I mean, what is just your reaction to that? But I mean, there is some truth to that, right?
He knows what he's talking about. I mean, he's obviously the best who's ever done it. So, yeah, there's a lot of truth to it. But, I believe we have to keep coaching our guys. That's you cannot. What are you gonna say? It's okay if we give this or that up. It's not. So you just keep pushing for perfection, even if you know it's not possible. You keep driving it that way.
You said Tommy was a little bit accelerated last year in understanding. I think we all saw Tommy Eichenberg was a better football player in 2022 than he was in 2021. If he's the accelerated version, but now it's year 2, could the defense this season look more like 11 Tommy Eichenbergs? And I think you know what I'm saying.
Absolutely. That's the goal. That's why I do it. I think you saw that at the end at Oklahoma State. I mean, there wasn't a single 4-star or 5-star guy on that defense, and we were arguably the best in the country if you put all the categories together, maybe within the top 3. But everybody understood, and everybody was able to play fast. And that's what we want to do.
And is the nutshell understanding of know where the ball is going to wind up?
Yes.
Based on their call, my call. We've drilled this 100 times.
Yeah.
I've taught it to you.
Yeah.
You understand everybody's position.
Yes.
You can run to where the ball is going to be because you know where it's going to be.
You know where it's going to end up, or where they're going to attempt to attack based on our structure.
How far down the line did you get to that point last year with 11 guys on a snap, being able to anticipate, I know where the ball is going to be? Were you at 50% of what you think you need to be, 80%? I know that's a hard question to ask, but I'm trying to figure out how much better it could be this year based on where you were last year.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the first number of that job is 70-75%.
Okay.
And you try to think of times where we were good, because there were times we were really good, right? So you try to think, okay, did everybody really have it? I know there's a lot we can get a lot better. There's still a chance.
When you're sitting here right now and you see what you did last year, and it was a very good defense, but you're thinking to yourself, I know what it wasn't, and I know what it can be. I've been through it at Oklahoma State. Like, how do you feel right now? What are the expectations or the hope or what the ceiling could be? Just how your eagerness to get back on the field with this defense. Where are you right now as a second-year defensive coordinator?
There's the opportunity to be the best in my mind. There's the opportunity to be the best, to make across-the-board improvements from what was already an improved defense, but the expectation to be a top 5 defense, that everyone can count on all the time. And that's there. I mean, I've seen enough, been around these guys, Coach Day, Coach Mick, the way they run the program. I saw our secondary in the spring make excellent improvements. Now, everything matters. Nothing counts until you get to the game, right? Everything matters. Nothing counts. But when you see guys, just get your hands on more balls. Just challenge routes. I do, and went through this at Oklahoma State. I do believe it's real. When you play and practice against a high-powered offense with great receivers and quarterback and, first-round picks, you get beat in practice. But that can't be okay. It doesn't matter who you're going against. It can't be okay.
Yeah.
And that's how our own iron on the offense has to sharpen our defensive iron. We needed to make that transition because this is how we're going to be the best, is we have to be the best against our offense every day. We're going to go against our offense, how many times? And then opponent 15 times, you know what I mean? So we need to be great against our offense, and that's been my message in preaching that is, it's not okay. Even though our offense is great, it can never be okay for us to.
And you say that because at times last year you felt it maybe seeping in, like.
I'm sure. I think that anything you do repeatedly becomes a habit, and we cannot be a defense, no matter how good our offense is, that if we give up something in practice, we say, "Well, hey, that was Marv. That was Marv." You can't beat that. You can't do it.
It's
you can't
Mark,
do it.
it's CJ, it's Paris, it's the one.
Yeah, you just can't. You can't
say that.
Yeah, but you can't. That's becomes a habit, and we just need to do a better job of that. And I saw progression in the spring.
Yeah.
Cam Martinez, what did you see rise out of him in the spring? What did you see?
Cam, I've thought all along since I've been here that he has all the skills of like a kid Michael Carter, who we had at Duke, who's maybe undersized, who's now with the Jets, but undersized, but quick feet. And with Cam, it's all just about confidence and competing. And I saw him make strides.
Did you see? Were you able to see enough out of Jahad Carter in this grade to know how he can help you and sort of how you hope to use him?
Yes. I think Jahad is a versatile guy who increased the competition at all those safety spots. One thing I noticed about him, which I guess no one really gets to see except a coach, but there are certain guys when they mess up a play in practice and you pull them over and you say, "Hey, when they do this, you have to do that." Then they go out there in the next series and they do it. He did that. That's impressive. That gives you goosebumps. Okay, this kid, he takes the coaching right there and changes the production on the field. And that's not a lot of guys can do that. So that's something I saw in him that was great.
You seem to have, at the safety position in particular, a lot of the body type, skill sets, ways you could mix and match depending on what teams throw you.
Yes.
But I'm wondering if you would prefer that or an existence where you can play the same three guys all the time and do everything.
More is better. Being able to, as you said, intermingle the players based on the matchups, is a good thing.
Where's Jahad at health-wise after the
He's fine. Yeah, he's fine. He's back.
Talking to Larry earlier about Mitchell, couldn't say enough good things about him. You've been talking about him since the first time we talked to you last year. What does he do that makes his coaches so happy?
Well, we didn't get to see that much of him, but he's just I saw a guy who has that short space quickness. He has the ability to get off blocks. He can handle a lot from a scheme standpoint. You can put a lot on him, and he plays with that kind of demeanor where he just always felt good when he was out there on the field. He wasn't very up and down. He was pretty straight.
I've never been a defense coordinator. If I was, what would buoy me going into this is the returning guys up front, which can – a fastball is a fastball, right? I mean, if you're a batter, you got to – is that the heart of it always? I mean, almost always defensively, if you got guys up front that can make a difference, can change the tenor of a play even before it gets started.
Yeah.
I mean, and do you have that kind of sense about the guys at the back, a rising guy like Kenyatta Jackson, Caden Curry, with your just what is that sense of you?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I saw those young guys really step up this spring, and the guys we have coming back are they can be trusted, and you've seen them make plays.
Yeah.
I mean, you look back at the plays, from game one with that Mike made. He had that early run in the season where he was, as you said, just kind of controlling the game, make plays. And then you look at what JT did against Penn State, just kind of took the game in his hands.
Disrupt.
We have the opportunity, as you said, to be very disruptive and productive there.
But consistency is the
Yeah, you got to do it all the time, and for the course of a long season.
Are you still looking at Mitchell and CJ as the guys who can most likely play that jack position this year?
Yes.
Seeing what CJ did in the spring game, does that give you more incentive to want to find a role for him this year?
Absolutely. I think CJ has made all the progress necessary to put him in that position to get plays in the real game.
You mentioned it's kind of a matchup play with the safeties and how you use them. Is that really highlighted by the nickel position? Like, could that nickel position look different for one opponent than it does for the next one?
Absolutely. It's a great point. Right. What are the matchup there in the slot? How much, tight end or close formation are you getting to the field? What is that? Does the nickel need to be more like a corner or more like a strong safety? And that can be week to week, play to play.
I'm not trying to trip you up with your own words, but I think when you got here, you said back seven, you maybe would prefer getting guys set in there and letting them play. You thought they learned over the course of the game.
Yeah.
And you maybe weren't thinking rotate guys
Right.
there. Now you've mentioned CJ, you've mentioned different bodies at safety.
Yeah.
Are you maybe more open to some moving
Yeah, I
parts in
think
the
it's
back seven?
I think that's a good observation. Yeah, I think you get to the Ohio State, you realize there are a lot of guys with a lot of skills that you have to, that you should find roles for.
And that to me, that makes sense, right? That there's just maybe a depth of talent here that you, nothing against any other place you've been, hadn't quite encountered before.
Absolutely.
And you feel like that maybe has affected your thinking.
Yep, for sure.
Okay.
When did I notice that?
That was maybe a luxury that you hadn't necessarily had.
I don't know that I really noticed it or thought about it until this spring. Because that first year, really your hair is on fire. I don't have any hair left. You know what I mean? Because you are attempting to input, and produce at the same time. So I think after year one, you have the luxury to kind of calm down in the spring.
So
Look at the good things.
Is that a product of the talent that's here, or that's just guys in a way that you didn't necessarily know?
It's a great point. Both, right? It's knowing the talent, knowing your players, knowing what they can do, what they do well, finding ways to do it. And I think with the infusion of Jihad and Davison, that's been a big deal for us too.
Talking about CJ and what he could do this year, when you look back, you think maybe I should have played him on defense some last year.
CJ?
Yeah.
No, not necessarily. I think CJ's right where he should be.
And, he's not been set back or anything.
No. CJ has soaked it all in, learned from it. I know everyone wants to see the highly recruited guys play right away, but as coaches, you prefer to let a guy kind of grow a little bit.
You do know that? That's how everybody is.
I wasn't sure if you were aware.
I'm not aware. I mean, I try not to read. And I love all you men and women. I try not to read, because, when it's good, I want to pat myself on the back. And when it's bad, I want to go hide in the garage. But, I mean, I do have people tell me things. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll have buddies say, hey, don't worry about what they're saying about you online. And I'll be like, I don't read it, but thanks for telling me now. Now I don't feel great.
We've talked extensively about the differences year one, year two, implementing, teaching the defense, etc. For you personally, what's it been like now to have a year living in Columbus, just being around this area?
It's always better to be settled, to have, kind of your feet on the ground, and just be more comfortable with the staff. I mean, that's just always better, you know. But also the way we live as coaches, you know, you're always just going 100 miles an hour too. So I mean, you know, I don't know. It's nice to think that matters, but I don't know if it really does.
Your feet are never really.
Yeah, no, you're never really in one place. Yeah. Good. Good to see all the usual suspects.
Yeah. Appreciate the time.
Thanks, Coach.
This is what I always reference when we talk about.
Okay, folks, we're not going to be able to stay up here, so we're going to, if you want to do